How you doing, brother?
What up? See you, man. That's how I'm involved.
Legendaries and luminaries of all alike. How you doing?
I was practicing the other day.
Playing for Konchalski. Yeah.
How you doing? B, what up? What up?
He's also here with us to speak, and of course has some relationship to Tom Konchalski, one of the better coaches. And when you annex Canada, he may become part of our situation. I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Konchalski.
Thank you, Ray, and welcome everyone to the third annual Midtown Madness Tom Konchalski Foundation fundraiser. Each year, this event has grown bigger and bigger and better, and that's thanks to folks like yourselves and others who might not be here tonight that have allowed the foundation to grow. First of all, I would like to honor our distinguished honorees today, Mr. Walt Frazier, who was en route to the event right now, Coach Jim Gatto, who coached many years at Monte Cristi and St. John's Prep in New York, and Coach Bob Semino, who is still coaching at High School. These are two coaching legends in the New York metropolitan area that I know have been recognized by the city of New York, the state of New York. They've been inducted into halls of fame, but the stamp of approval that I am going by is the stamp of approval that Tom Konchalski gave them as great coaches. And it's really special, I believe, because Tom devoted his life to high school basketball to honor some of the great coaches in our area, and it's great to have Coach Gatto and Coach Semino here today. I'd also like to introduce my family who traveled here. My wife Charlene. We came here. We live in Nova Scotia, Canada, on the East Coast. Our son Christopher, who lives in British Columbia, almost as far as we could possibly be on this continent, and his son, and our grandson Francis, 7 years old. Very special for me to have them here, in addition to one of my very closest friends, Coach Eddie, who played for me 50 years ago, and he came down from the Montreal area for this special occasion. So thank you so much for that support. Why are we all here? And I think we have to keep that in mind. We're all here because we want to reinforce the values that my brother lived by and brought forward to every young man, every coach that he had contact with. His values were moved on to the people that he worked with. Everybody talks about his handshake, of course. Everybody talks about the nickname Glider, of course, because when he walked into the gym, every player looked up and said, I better be on my top game. So we all know about that, but what this foundation is attempting to do is keep these values in our system. And if you look around our basketball system today, those values are in doubt, unfortunately, the way the game is going today. And I'm not going to get into that, but at the same time, the down-to-earth values that Tom lived by and how he espoused those values to the people that he worked with, the coaches, and especially the young players. I think it's really, really important that those values go forward. And the purpose of the foundation is to raise enough money to make sure that we invest in scholarships, we invest in summer camps, we invest in summer programs for young people, and not just talk about how to shoot jump shots or how to play defense. That we talk about the real values of the game that you live, that you take with you for the rest of your life. So I think that's what the foundation is all about, and you're going to hear a lot more about it as we go forward in this afternoon's program. But I want to thank everybody for being here, and if you can continue your support, you're helping our youth and you're helping our game progress forward in a very, very positive way. So thank you very much.
It really is, and what the hell would Tom think of basketball nowadays? My God. Win 25 games, get fired 2 years later. Go to the NCAAs, get fired. Who knows? Anybody in the room may be fired before we leave today. Hopefully you didn't become coach of the year, and you'll be all right. So Tom would either be the guru of the portal or become an NIL agent and probably make $1 million. He'd have to get a phone, he'd have to get a computer. But in today's day and age, who knows where the hell we'd be going. I think we're going to let everybody eat because we have to center everything around Clyde getting here and getting back for the Knick game. So rather than nobody came and paid to listen to me speak anyway. So I think we're ready with the food. We are, so, all right, Barrett? So yeah. So we'd like to invite the inductees, families, and tables first, the Gattos, the Seminos. And you can start the food, enjoy your meal. We'll be back as soon as we're ready to go. Thank you very much, folks. First, I wouldn't speak long because nobody really came to hear me speak. But before we get to Clyde, I have to tell one story. An old friend of mine, Roger McCann, many of you may have known, calls me at Bishop Ford one day and said, listen, the Knicks are playing the Lakers in the playoffs, the first championship, and the Lakers need a place to work out. Can they come to Ford? I said, can they come to Ford? So I go into the principal, Brother Hugh McGrath, who didn't know the difference between the Lakers and Swan Lake. He was an English teacher, didn't know basketball. He goes, Ray, you're running a place, do whatever you want to do. We drive over and pick up Chamberlain and the whole crew in 2 vans. We come back to Ford, get out of the vans, and Chamberlain steps out, and all these tough kids from Brooklyn yelling Knicks 01 part like the Red Sea. They go in and have a workout. I go up to Bill Sharman. I said, Bill, there's 1,000 kids downstairs. They're going to kill me if we don't let them see the Lakers. So we made it like a wake. They came up the back stairs, walked through the gym on the carpet, viewed the Lakers, and left. It was fantastic. But the part of the story that's important, Monday morning, Roger shows up at my office with an army bag. He goes, Coach, do you want the Knick jerseys? I said, the Knick jerseys from the first win the other night? So I wore Clyde's jersey. We were playing the Harlem Wizards in a faculty game. I wore the jersey out. Everybody else on the team had a jersey. And then I recollected them, and like an idiot, I gave them away to my friends. I'd probably be a millionaire and down in Florida today if I kept the whole jerseys. But I did wear his jersey. That's as close as I came to emulating him. But we're going to get going now. We have a special guest with us. Pete Gillen is with us today, a former recipient from the foundation. And I'd like to call Pete up to introduce Clyde.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. It's a privilege and honor to be here this afternoon. It's a wonderful foundation, raising money for young players to go to camp and get some academic help. It's an honor for me now to introduce this next gentleman. I've been a Knick fan my whole life. I talk a little funny when I'm out of town. They say, well, myself and about 10 million people talk funny in New York City. We're that way. But this guy was an unbelievable player, had a great career. Southern Illinois, he won the NIT championship in 1967. He was an MVP of the NBA All-Star game in 1975. An unbelievable guard. He had more moves than a can of worms when he got in the lane. He always finished the basket. A tremendous player. When they played in the NBA Finals against the Knicks, right, the famous game when Willis Reed came out of the locker room hobbled and one leg. Well, Willis was great, but Clyde was even greater for the New York Knicks.
17 from the field. Four steals. I sold hot dogs at halftime.
He sells hot dogs. He does it all. He's got a great clothing. I'm going to try to get the clothes he wears. I can't really. It's beautiful clothing. He looks great. But a tremendous addition to New York City, coming from Southern Illinois, where he had a great career, unbelievable career with the Knicks. 2 NBA titles. Hopefully we'll get another one in the next couple of years with Brunson and the other players for the Knicks. So I introduce the Value of the Game Award this year, the Tom Konchalski Foundation, for the great Walt Frazier.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for this.
Looking clean, Clyde.
Thank you. I don't know. I just like to thank God for whom all blessings flow. It's really a blessing that after 50 years, you guys are still making me feel special, talking about my exploits, honoring me. So I definitely appreciate it. It's kept me very humble. If you ever come to the Garden, there's one autograph you know you're going to get, or one picture you're going to get, and that's Clyde. So. I'd like to thank Michael Weinstein, my man Michael. We go way back for giving this opportunity to be here. Had a tremendous impact on my life. He's always sharing and caring. And when I saw what he does, I go, man, I've got to do more. I've got to give more of my time. So most of you know about my exploits as Clyde. Unequivocally the greatest Knick of all time. Why are you laughing? But before I was that guy, I grew up in very humble beginnings in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. I have 7 sisters and 1 brother. So I often tell people when you grow up in a scenario like that, you either like kids or you hate them, man. So I've always had an affinity for kids. They've been my most ardent supporters throughout my career. The kids made me the first guy to endorse a sneaker. 1973, the Puma Clyde. long before the Air Jordan. That was the Puma Clyde. And we're still kicking it. The Puma Clyde is still out there after some 40 years. Because of the kids, I've done maybe 8 books. They've allowed me to do Walt Frazier basketball camps for over 50 years. I've been doing Walt Frazier basketball camps. So I feel more compelled, like I've got to give back, help the kids. So under the auspices of my Walt Frazier Youth Foundation, I often go into schools talking to the kids about education, confidence, teamwork, respect, having a game plan for life. So I go to inner city schools as well as affluent schools. And I found that when I'm in the inner city schools, the kids know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And that's why they'll kill you for your watch, your car, or a pair of shoes. Conversely, the kids in the affluent schools, they have everything. But a lot of them have nothing because they lack discipline, self-esteem, respect for others. So when I leave those schools, I often ask myself, which is worse? Having too much or having too little? Which is worse? Both can be devastating. Can be devastating. So I've been fortunate enough to do the Knick games. You guys know about my dishing and swishing, shaking and baking, moving and grooving, wheeling and dealing. But when I go to the Garden, I'm oblivious to my number hanging in the rafters with the other legendary Knicks. But sometimes after the game, I have a flashback to my playing career. And I go out the exit at 33rd and 8th, the employees exit. I remember when I was in the twilight of my career, I was no longer that good, nor the team, but there would always be 3 or 4 kids waiting for me. And they would say, Clyde, you're still the greatest. Clyde, you get him the next time. Clyde, let me carry your bag. So, like I say, the kids have always been there encouraging me, talking to me. They're the catalyst for what I want to do now. I've been lucky that the Knicks was celebrating my 80th birthday next week. It's starting to sound old now. So I remember my first foray into going into the schools. I went into a school and I was talking with maybe 100 kids in an auditorium, and I got up to speak and the kids started yelling, "Where's Starks? Where's Ewing?" And I always go, "Yeah, where are they? Have you ever seen them up here?" So it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I told him, man, I could be anywhere I want in the world, but I decided to be here with you guys, so you should respect me for coming. But then I was younger, and I let my ego get the best of me. I go, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm not talking about this shit. So when I was leaving the stage, there were 2 or 3 kids meandering there. And they came up to me and said, Mr. Frazier, thanks for coming. So those kids gave me the impetus to keep doing what I'm doing. So whenever I go into a school to talk, if I can reach one kid, change one kid's life, then that's why I came. So I know today a lot of you guys have been coaches and teachers, and so you know the problems of our kids today. So I'm not only a parent, but I'm a grandparent. I have 2 grandkids. So I'm concerned about drug abuse, the insidious drugs that destroy our kids, child abuse, miscommunication between parents and their kids, teenage pregnancies, the atrocity of babies having babies, And the appalling dropout rate. Sometimes over half of our kids are dropping out of school by the 10th grade. Like, what is going to become of them? What will they do? So these are tumultuous times for our kids. We're talking about red, yellow, black, and white kids. So, like I say, I'm blessed that I still have an impact. Like, kids still admire me for the way I talk, the way I dress. So that's why people like Michael are giving me that opportunity. Hey man, I can do more. I can try to have this impact. And today, standing here, I'm standing on the shoulders of so many people. My parents, my grandparents, my coaches, my teachers, my peers. So they were the ones who encouraged me. You know, my mother was always, I remember 1970, guys, we were the champs, right? The Knicks won the first championship. And I was 25 years old, a celebrity in the greatest city in the world. I had my Rolls Royce. I couldn't wait to go back to Atlanta, Georgia in style and profile. So I drove home, and my sisters didn't know whether to call me Clyde or Walt or what it was, because they were reading about me in Ebony and Jet magazine. And my mother just stared at me too, like I was a stranger. So after I'm home a couple of days, she go, you know, you're still the same. So she knew that I hadn't changed. But she was concerned about this guy Clyde. You know, who is this guy Clyde? She said, I see you, Jet magazine, Ebony, mirror ceilings in your room. So she knew I grew up very quiet and shy. I never went out. Like when I was in college, I used to come home for the summer. I just worked, you know, because everybody had a car and clothes and I didn't. So she used to ask me, why don't you ever go out? I go, well, Mom, it's only for 3 months, you know, I'll be back to school. So then she's reading about this guy Clyde with all of this material stuff. So my mom never came near that car, the Rolls Royce. She never wanted any part of it. And the day that I was leaving, the only thing she said to me was, son, don't gain the world and lose your soul. Mm. And my grandfather he's been the catalyst for me for a long time. I think he's the richest man I've ever known. He had little education, little money, but he was always caring and sharing with us, teaching and preaching. He had pride and dignity. He worked 40 years for a company, and they never gave him a watch or a thank you letter. But he was punctual every day. His philosophy was, when a man is hungry, don't give him a fish, but give him a fishing pole. When you give them a fish, you feed them for a day. When you give them a fishing pole, you feed them for a lifetime. And not only that, they gain pride and dignity that they can not only feed themselves, but their family as well. So I've always had these type of role models, and you know, playing with the Knicks, my idol was Willis Reed. When I came to the team, the captain would give you the shirt off his back. He was so kind, such a kind person. And I learned about tenacity on the court. He always gave 110%. Off the court, he always took time to sign autographs. If you ever saw his autograph, they never changed. If he signed 1,000, they looked the same. He always carried a Sharpie. He pulls it out, he signs it. So he was a magnificent person. And obviously we lost him last year. That was devastating for me. Dick Barnett was one of my idols. His locker was adjacent to my locker. So when I'm 22, he's 29 or 30. So I see him in the twilight of his career. He didn't smoke, he didn't drink. All he wanted to do was play ball. But he was a sharp dresser, so I copied a lot of his fashion sense. where he made his suits, where he got his shoes made, where he got his shirts. So he had an example. So Bill Bradley, we all admired Bill because of his sagacity. Rhodes Scholar. The black guys used to say about Bill Bradley, he's like straight up as 12 o'clock. Because they knew there was no racism in Bill Bradley. He was a straight person. Like if you wanted someone to ever come to Harlem, he would be the first guy to volunteer to go. And I actually had dinner with the senator the other night. He, out of nowhere, he called me and invited me to dinner after 50 years. So, you know, he's gone through quite a metamorphosis. We knew when he ran for president, you know, he was kind of stiff, kind of boring. But I don't know now, you know, he's doing this one-man show that he has. So he's telling jokes and he's funny and he does it for like over an hour or so. And when I started, I go, what have they done to Bill, man? Who is this guy? So we had those type of guys, and of course, Red Holtzman was the catalyst for our team. Holtzman was colorblind. He never saw color. You work hard in the game. In practice, you get in the game. There were only one set of rules for Frazier, Reed, for the last guy on the team. And that's why the players always leave 110% for Red. He was like a father figure to me. So, you know, in those days when you were a rookie, you had to carry the balls, the movie projector. So Phil Jackson and I were rookies, so we spent a lot of time with Holtzman, carrying the balls with the projectors. Actually, that's how Phil got into coaching. Remember in 1970, he had a bad back. He had an operation. So Red had him helping him, keeping stats, different things with the team. And that's kind of how Phil Jackson got the bug to be the coach. But Holtzman was always that guy. And when I bought the Rolls Royce, he goes, Clyde, you saving any money? You know, you got to save for a rainy day. So he was always there for me, giving me, you know, tremendous advice. So that team is like you thought it would be. We personified team because you can't mention Frazier without Bradley, without DeBusschere, without Reed, without Dick Barnett. Barnett now is 87 years old. So he's in assisted living down in Florida. He was just recently inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame. He really worked diligently to make that happen, so that was good. So that was another one of the blessings to play with that type of team and that type of organization. And obviously, the greatest city in the world, the greatest fans in the world. We were talking about Game 7 when Pete mentioned the 36 points, 19 assists, 7 rebounds, 4 steals. I mean, who's counting? I wasn't Ironically, in that game, like when we were in the playoffs, like we were playing Earl and Pearl, when the guys go out, Red would come over and say, Clyde, forget about offense, let's play defense on Earl. So this game, he pulled me over and said, Clyde, hit the open man. So when I went on the court, my concept was to hit the open man. But as the game progressed, I was the open man. So the other fallacy is Willis Reed, people think we knew that he was coming. We had no idea whether Willis would play. Of course, in those days, there were no cell phones. So you couldn't call around and we couldn't find out. I didn't know Willis was at the game until I got over there. And he would have been in the locker room maybe since 10 o'clock that morning trying to get treatment. So what happened, Holtzman told everybody, get out of here, whether Willis play or not, we have to play, so get mentally ready to play the game. So when we go out on the court, we didn't know Willis was coming. But when he came out, the crowd went crazy. I'll never forget 3 of the greatest players ever, West, Baylor, Chamberlain. They stopped doing what they were doing. They were staring at Willis. And that gave me so much confidence. But I go, man, we got these guys, you know. And then Willis would come out and make not only his first shot, his second shot And I go, there's nothing wrong with this guy. So I don't think he scored after that, but the die was cast because I started to believe that I could do anything, and the team started to do that, and it was all because of you guys, because of the fans. But I always tell people that we played the Lakers 10 times after that, we would not have won. But that one game, I think it was our destiny, you know, being in New York, coming back the way we did, and unequivocally, that's why we were talking about it now after 50 years. Still talking about that team. The current Knicks. Last year I thought maybe we would get back to the promised land. I liked our team. Thought maybe destiny would rise up again. This year, you know, Boston is the cream of the crop. We do not match up with Boston. We do not match up. I'd rather play Cleveland than Boston. So Boston is tough. They're going to be tough. With Robinson coming back, we have better defense. Ironically, this year, because of Towns, we're more of an offensive team than a defensive team. So you hear me now with the Swiss cheese, the Teflon, Matador defense these guys are playing. So we can't get stops like we used to last year. Obviously, Hartenstein was a tremendous factor for us last year, the hustle that he brings. I mean, Hart brings that too, but he's only 6'4", 6'5". So, you know, I still think we're the third best team in the league, like where we are now, right behind Cleveland, behind Boston. So you never know. Once you get in the playoffs, you guys might be able to catapult the team again if we get there. So, but we know as New Yorkers, we always see the glass as half full. So we don't need much encouragement to start to believe. So I'm keeping the faith and, you know, hoping the Knicks can get back to their former grandeur. These rings, guys, I wear every day with a lot of pride. Symbolic of a perfect season. Everything has to go right. So, you know, there are a lot of guys that have never had that feeling to get to a championship. So I was blessed to get 2 of them, and the profound memories that I have from playing in New York and with my teammates, you know, it's definitely catapulted my life. My life is, you know, I like what Dr. King said about longevity. Longevity is good, but right now it's no longer, I think, how long I live, but how I live. And that's why, you know, I want to give back. I want to give back to the kids, and I tell my friends I'm no longer interested in, I'm more interested in posterity than posteriors these days. So primarily because of my grandkids, they're there. I gotta try to encourage them and do that. And so the last thing I like to say, guys, is, like I said, I've been doing the camps for 50 years. I've been around the kids. Don't take away your kids' confidence. Don't take away their confidence by giving them everything. It's human nature. If you give somebody everything, why would they work? If you give somebody everything, why would they work? When the going gets tough, they ain't gonna get going. Like my son, Walt Frazier III, he's disappointed he was never in the NBA, but he's a good student. He's an Ivy League guy. But when I was growing up, unfortunately, I was separated from his mother, so I used to keep him in the summers. So I was still playing at the time. I go running. I go, Walt, he's Walt Frazier III. Walt, you want to go running? He go, nah, man, I'm on vacation, he tell me. I said, man, the guys you're going to be competing against, they don't know what a vacation is. So obviously, like most kids, he wasn't listening. Then when I used to go to his house, I opened the refrigerator, all you see is food. You know, he lived in Chicago. And conversely, I told you about me with 9 kids. You ever came to my house and opened the refrigerator, you would have been blinded by the lights. There was some water bottles in there, and that was about it, man. But that light can be a beacon to success. Some of you guys have seen that light. That light. We look at the NBA today, 70% black. NFL, 70% black. Those guys have seen that light. That light. Some of you guys haven't seen it. You go home today, open it up, man, you'll see. But the old refrigerators had a 15-watt light bulb in there. So if we look at sports, let's go back in time in sports. When the NBA first started, most of the players were Jewish. Because they were the guys trying to make it. It was their way out. Boxing was dominated by the Irish. They were tough as nails. You couldn't beat them. John L. Sullivan, Dempsey, all the heavyweight champions. You know, football, Franco Nagurski, Jim Thorpe, the immigrants were the dominant guys. So nothing has changed. It's still a motivation factor, guys. How motivated are you? Like in the NBA, everybody has talent. So why aren't they all stars? Everybody was a star coming into the NBA from somewhere. Because some guys, you know, they start partying. They're not dedicated to the game. They don't like to practice. You know, they're thinking about their girlfriend or their wife or both. So there's a reason. So motivation, guys. And, you know, to me, the most insidious tragedy of human is losing one's motivation. The most insidious of human tragedies. And we walk around this, as soon as we walk out this restaurant, we'll see that. It'll be embellished. You see so many people that have lost their motivation. They're beaten down by the system. So keep the kids motivated. Don't take away that motivation. When I go and talk to them, I tell them they can do it. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be better than Clyde. You can be better than Clyde. I see a little girl, I said, you can be the president of the United States. You can. But there's certain things you have to do. You have to have confidence. If you don't believe, you can't achieve. And you don't believe in yourself, why would anybody believe in you? So you gotta believe in yourself. Be willing to work as a team. Willis Reed and I could have scored a lot more, but we would not have been champions. So by sacrificing that, we became champions. Having a tenacious work ethic. Like I told you, Willis Reed, Chamberlain had a lot more talent than Reed and Russell, but Reed always gave 110%, man. Against Jabbar, anybody that if he played you one-on-one, he'd dunk on you. That's the way he was, man. He hated to lose, and he always played like that with that intensity. We talked about respect. You know, my blessing I told you about, you can't buy respect. You know, you guys are not respecting me because of 50 years, but you're respecting me about something you saw me do or something you saw me say is why you respect me. So in the greatest city in the world, I can go east side, west side, uptown, downtown. People will say, Mr. Frazier, this, that. Cab driver won't charge me. I can get, people still buy me drinks after 50 years. So the respect factor is still there. My father and grandfather grew up under the oppression of segregation, but they always taught me, never look down on a man unless you're helping him to get up. So, you know, I've always had that determination. Don't see color, just see a person for who they are and what they are. I know I'm being a little loquacious today, but you guys got me up early, so you got to think of me. So the last thing I like to mention is the isms, what I call the isms. Hedonism, narcissism, nepotism, racism. Nothing can destroy our team more than the isms, or our city, or our country, more than the isms. So when Earl the Pearl came to New York, I was pissed, man. I was like, why did they cheer for him, man? So, I saw it as competition, but, the media said it would never work. We need two basketballs. But what they overlooked with Earl and I was our mutual respect for each other. As opponents, my friends used to say, man, what do you say to him? I said, man, we never talk. They go, come on, man, you all over this guy? I go, man, sometimes I'll say, Earl, great shot, and sometimes he say, Clyde, great defense. So when he came to the Knicks, there was no hostility, animosity, just respect, and we made it work. And so the ego factor is big in attaining success in any company dealing with anybody. You can't let your ego get involved. So try not to let the isms destroy what you're trying to do with the team or being successful, getting along with people. Again, guys, thank you for this revelation. I feel omnipotent when I get up in front of a group because of the respect factor. And one last story is that when I was in college, I always attended class till it was time to give my speech. So one day the instructor said, Mr. Frazier, I'd like to see you after class. So he goes, why is it you always come to class till it's time to give your speech? I said, there's no way I can talk in front of the class. He goes, you're the basketball player, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, I've seen you play in front of thousands of people that you don't know. Why can't you talk in front of 20 people that you do know? And I go, yeah, that sounds pragmatic. What am I going to talk about? He goes, talk about basketball. So my first speech I gave about basketball, I thought people would laugh. Nobody laughed. Now I get the last laugh. The most critical audience in the world, New York City. I'm using all these $100 words, throwing them out there. But I always say, what if? What if this man didn't take time to talk to me? What if? So that's why I'm always willing to try to help and give back. He changed my life where I enjoy talking now. I enjoy getting up in front of a group talking. And this is the most intimidating thing for anybody. To get up in front of a group of people where you know them or not and try to talk. So right now, maybe we have a little Q&A. Maybe you guys like to ask a question or something. Yes, sir.
I remember the '73 season very well. And what I think of now, since the three-point shot has changed the game, my favorite memory is seeing Jerry Lucas shooting threes from beyond the top of, what was it, three then, shooting shots beyond the top of the key, and there was no way Chamberlain could have come out that far and guard him. Do you have any special memories of that season?
Well, 73 season, well, I would say the 70 team, we personified team. The 73 team, we were more talented because we had Earl the Pearl, we had Jerry Lucas. So I know we beat the Lakers 4-1. So it was not as provocative as the first one. But yeah, you're right. Luke shoots that shot, the three-pointer. It would have been a three-pointer back in those days. So Jerry's doing very well. I think Luke is around 84, 85, still in good shape. He's living in Ohio. So, he had the memory tricks. He could remember the phone book and all that stuff. And his wife said, yeah, he can remember everything but my birthday. Questions? Any more questions? If not, oh yes, sir.
Why would you never dunk?
I never dunked because, well, when we were in college, they didn't allow to dunk, so I really never got into the aspect of dunking the ball.
So you would be on the break, and I would say, he's gonna dunk it this time, and he played it off the glass.
Sometimes I tantalize the guy chasing me that I stole the ball from. So they get overzealous trying to block my shot, and I make the shot and go to the free throw line. So.
You create defense. You create.
Oh, thank you.
You made the Clyde Puma sneaker famous, right? Did you wear high tops or you just strictly low tops?
The Clyde Pumas were low tops.
Yeah.
They were suede. Actually, we came out with the blue suede and the red suede. And when I see guys today, parents, check this out, parents. Those shoes were, I think, $20, and the parents were saying, "Who the hell is this guy, Clyde?" But they didn't buy the shoe for the kids. They made them save from their allowance to get those shoes. Not like today, you guys go out and buy them 10 pair of shoes at one time. So they cherished those shoes. They wouldn't wear them when it rained because the suede would run. Yeah, they took care of those shoes because of that. Yeah.
I'd like to know what's the difference between the hook shots back then and what's going on now?
Well, the guys think the hook shot is old-fashioned. And obviously Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the career leading scorer before LeBron broke his record. But these guys, they don't like to deal with old school. You know, everything has to be razzle-dazzle, stylish. And so only the foreign players use the hook shot. So you never see American players today really using the hook shot. Yes. Oh, great. Tell him I said hello. All right, guys. Thanks again for having me.
Really a Hall of Famer in the game of life. Thank you for being here.
Send a check to my office, thanks. Oh, yeah, good.
There's another person who has to go to work tonight on 33rd Street and 7th Avenue. All of us that coach take great pride in trying to help the players that we coached. Some of us are very fortunate to come about special ones. Most of you guys know our dear friend Greg Vitrone, Shoes.
Yes.
And, great recruiter, great friend. And Shoes and I coached at UNLV together. So Shoes goes in the back gym of an AAU tournament. And for any of us that know Shoes, he's a visionary in basketball. He sees things before other people do. Just like the NIL. He believed in the NIL before the NCAA did. Okay? Lamar Odom, right? But fortunately, he found a guy in the back gym that not only helped us win the WAC tournament and go back to the NCAA tournament, but who went on, and now he is the head coach of the Washington Wizards. He has a game here tonight, obviously against the Knicks, but he wanted to come say hello to you, tell you about his relationship with Tom before he has to go. And it's a lot better you have to cover Jason Hart than this guy. Okay, today. But he just wanted to say hello and stop by here and tell you about his relationship with Tom. Okay, Brian Keefe, thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Barry is who's someone who means the world to me. He took care of me for a very long time, and just there was no way I was not coming up here today. I snuck out of practice early to come down and be with you guys. It's funny he mentions this back gym in 1994, and out at UNLV it was a tournament in Las Vegas Invitational that some of you guys, all the college guys, probably remember going to see guys play at. And that's where I met Mr. Konchalski for the first time. And you don't forget that. I'm sure you guys know, all the people in here have never forget those moments, because years later when I became a small Division II coach in Bryan College, which is now Division I think we made the tournament this year, I was at a high school event and this tall man walked over to me, grabbed me, tapped me on the shoulder, and he says, "Brian Keefe, July 17th, 1994, I met you in the back gym at UNLV." And I looked at him like, how did you remember that? I knew who you were, but I'm surprised you knew who I was. I was just a small Division II coach trying to learn my way, and he kind of took me under his wing. You know, he would be up at the prep school tournaments, and I would sit with him, and he would teach me what to look for in players. And you know, sometimes I would end up driving him back to the train station and pick him up at places. And I worked for a guy named Max Good for multiple years there, and they were very close. So we would be on the phone with him, talking to him all the time. We got a lot of kids out of New York City. Got a couple, kid from Tilden, kid from down at St. Benedict. So I think for me, like, you know, I'm obviously got this great opportunity here coaching with the Wizards now. It's always, basketball is always about the people that you meet along the way. And you can tell by all the people in this room today the effect that Tom had on all of us. What he cared about was the people and the kids and the coaches and helping people get to where they wanted to go and help their dreams. And did it in a way that probably the classiest person you could ever be around. So I'm truly honored to be here today and get to spend a few minutes with you guys. But Tom meant a lot to me, and obviously Barry means the world to me. So I'm thrilled to be here today, and what a great foundation. And if in any way I can contribute going forward to it, I always want to be a part of it. So thank you.
You can leave a check if you like. On the way out the door, go ahead. These are hard acts to follow here, folks. Thank you, Coach. All right, getting along with the program as we do, I'd like to call up the athletic director and coach from Archbishop Molloy, Mike McCleary.
Yes, following Walt Frazier, and we're very appreciative of that. I and Molloy are extremely grateful for the generosity the foundation has shown towards Molloy and our students by providing a scholarship for us. Okay, we are very respectful of the foundation and Tom's memory to make sure that we pick the proper person to represent both Tom and the foundation. So, and I believe we did a good job this year. The person who received Tom's scholarship this year was Grant Monteague, who's a senior for us, who was a 2-year starter for our basketball team. His GPA is a 102.36. And as a senior, he's only taking AP courses, right? Clubs.
What did I do wrong? But no, this scholarship was a welcome surprise, and I'm extremely grateful. Now, when I was researching Mr. Konchalski to get a better feel for the man he was and the life he lived, I was struck by his personable character. He was a renowned and lauded scout throughout the entire East Coast, and yet he never postured or flaunted. I know the man was a devout Catholic, and reading about his scouting work and the way he conducted himself, it honestly reminded me of a shepherd guiding overlooked and passed up players that were diamonds in the rough, so to speak. I think in this way, Mr. Konchalski sets an example for us all. The way he would silently slide into a gym to take down scouting notes on players, very humble and modest, but his notepad had the capacity to change lives and shape career trajectories. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to meet Mr. Konchalski in person, but I'm no stranger to the legacy he left behind. My sophomore year, I worked the cashier's table at the annual Tom Konchalski Classic at Molloy. I think at that time, I was more concerned about getting a free backpack than the man whose name was on that backpack. But getting a chance to play in the Classic the last 2 years gave me a newfound sense of appreciation and respect that a man like Tom Konchalski deserves. It means a lot to me to be able to represent my school in the Classic, the school with the same hallways Tom Konchalski walked through all those years ago. And to be a part of his living legacy is something truly special. I want to thank you all again for having me and inviting me to speak. Thank you.
probably does not want to receive an award because he always makes sure that everybody else is taken care of. Don't ever try to go eat anywhere with Barry Rawson, because he gives the guy his credit card before you even show up in the restaurant and pays for your meal. Every time, he's unbelievable. Very selfless. And today, Barry receives an award. Ro, come on up here, bud. Come on over here with me. Today, Barry, we're going to honor Barry because Barry's a sponsor behind many, many of the things that go on in this foundation and donates a lot to what we're trying to do and making things happen, and never wanted to be recognized for it. It's just not his way. Well, sorry, Coach, wherever your area is, you got to come up. You got to take this nice award, which we've got for Barry, and it reads, founding member, event sponsor, devoted friend of the Tom Konchalski Foundation, an appreciation award to Barry, in parentheses, Slice Rawson. Here we go, Coach. Come on up.
I'm going to give Joe one word to say what Tom would say right now about getting this.
Nonsense.
That's what Tom would say.
Nonsense.
Total
Nonsense.
and utter complete nonsense. Hands down.
But thank you very much. Everybody here is in the basketball world, so they just realized that, you know, the foundation, Pete Gillen, they ran the backdoor play on me, okay? Because in our meeting, my recommendation was that John Mullally get this, okay? One of the co-founding members, works tireless, and actually handles the money, you know, that everybody sends in. So he, you know, like everybody else except for my wife, doesn't listen to me. All right, but thank you very much. Jerry Quinn, I don't know how somebody with all the wins you have is the last seat in the back, okay? You have like 1,000 wins, okay? I mean, you put mine and Jesse's and Silk's all together, we don't come anywhere near yours. McGrain, Freya, they got some wins. Who else is here? Got a lot of wins. Actually, you know what? Well, you were talking about, you know, men of a certain age. Pick, you don't look bad for 90. Okay, you don't. I mean, you look better than you be. You know, he sounds better, but you look better. Pickman may have more wins than anybody because he's been coaching since like he was in yeshiva. Okay, he was like the first player coach ever. Okay, he was like 6 years old with a clipboard. You know what I mean? Like drawing plays. So if you're counting all those wins you have, you may be near Quinn. But thank you very much. You know, people say, you know, why do you do this? And it's real simple, because Tom would do it for us. So thank you for being here.
And by the way, Evan Pickman is going into the Old Timers basketball this year on May 2nd. He finally guaranteed to take 4 tables, so last year we were here at this dinner, and we're going to put him in. And now to get to the awards for today's, it's an honor to be able to present these gentlemen. We did Clyde already and got him out of the way, hard to follow. Our first inductee, which is the Lifetime Award winner, is an individual I've known most of my lifetime. We coached against each other for 20, 30 years. Jimmy won city championships at 2 different schools. Of course, Monte Cristi with the fantastic teams that he had. And I always remember Dick Vitale calling Red Bruin the best swing man that he ever saw since Benny Goodman. And we actually beat Jim, the only time I beat him, I think, with that group in the seeding round. And then they went on to win the city championship. But he won 2 city championships in the AA. And then when St. John's came in and Monte Cristi no longer existed, he won a city championship in the A division. All the wins and losses are wonderful, but the influence and exercise, his wins and losses were wonderful. But the impact on his lives and of his players, his role as a mentor, and his unwavering dedication to the schools and Catholic education is something that he's being honored for today. So without further ado, we'd like to honor Mr. Jim Gatto.
I got this call maybe 2.5 weeks ago. Steve called up Konchalski and said, you know, you're going to be honored for this award. And I said, I'm in North Carolina. He thought I was in Long Island, but I was in North, but it worked out. Anything for Tom Konchalski. The first things I like to say is about the foundation and all these guys that put time in, like Barry and Joe Delaney and Pete Geico, and they just, you know, they volunteered to do this. And it's a wonderful thing. And I know they have the basketball tournament at Malloy, and they have this here, and it helps out students, which is a great, great thing. So Steve said to me, say some things about Tom, you know, and also talk about some of your players. So that might be too long, so I'm gonna be brief. Tom and I go back when my two kids, right now they're in their 50s, they were about 12 or 13 years old. They had the camp at Fordham University, and Tom at that time was doing the registration for Jack Curran, who I thought was one of the best coaches I ever went up against. And just they had a couple of more. There were so many good coaches in the CHSAA. And well, anyway, we did that, and after, when Tom used to go to everybody's house. Like, you know, if there was a barbecue, Tom would go. I know he went out to Delaney's house. He came out to my house, and we had the barbecue, and before, we did some basketball. I had a basketball hoop, and Tom was playing, and so we did one-on-one, and you said the hook shot is obsolete, and that's all he did. I said, Tom, you don't have a jump shot at all. So then the rest of the day, Tom loves to tell stories, but don't interrupt him because he gets upset. That's for sure. So I never did. So he talked about, I'll tell you the one story that I remember. He talked about Jack Curran. He said, you know, Jack Curran was a great baseball coach besides basketball, you know, and I looked up to him pretty much so, and some other coaches in the CHSAA. But he said, Jack Curran used to wear this hat, and Jack Curran was a great baseball coach. He coached at he played at St. John's University, and then played in the minor leagues. So he said Jack was on the Van Wyck Expressway. He had one of those hats like Graham Fishburne is wearing, and he said the hat flew off. He had the window open. The hat fell out onto the Van Wyck Expressway. He stopped the car. He told 3 of his players, go out and get the car. So that was Tom. That was Tom. But there was so many things. I worked at Shea Stadium for 30 years in stadium operations, and I worked for the city. But this guy for Shea worked for the New York Mets, and Tom, I'd be working a night game, and Tom comes walking in, you know, saying hello, talking about, I'm going to the game. So I said, do you have good tickets? Do you want to be on the field level? But I think he got tickets from Omar Minaya. You know, he was general manager for the New York Mets, and now he's with the New York Yankees. The other thing people don't know about is in the early age, I think it's in his family, Tom Konchalski was really involved with the U.S. Open. He used to work at the U.S. Open when it was in Forest Hills. And then it came to Shea Stadium, you know, in the Meadowlands. And a lot of people don't know about this, but Tom used to get and talk with college coaches, and they used to come into the game. But the most important thing is he got guys jobs as ball boys for the U.S. Open when it went in Flushing Meadow. So he did those things like that. He had an influence. He got some people. He said good words to get some people college jobs and all like that. But the biggest thing about him is, you have the good times and you have your bad times with your family. But he was always there. I had a knee replacement. I come out of recovery, and who's at the foot of the bed? Tom Konchalski. I said, Tom, how did you know about I was getting a knee replacement? He knows everything. It's just, he was amazing. His mind was like a computer. He would know your whole family, your grandchildren, everyone you knew about. He knew all the players, and he was just amazing. And IS-8 had big tournaments in Queens and some other tournaments. I used to go see some of my players, and Tom would be there sitting, you heard the stories. He would be on the bleachers, sitting at the top with his yellow pad and writing stuff. And I would go up there, and I was kind of a little nervous, like, should I talk to him? He said, come and sit with me. But I know this was his job. He was doing the report that he bought from Garfinkel. So I looked down on what he was doing. How does he remember? One kid took 15 shots, made 7, had 3 assists and 4 rebounds. But he had it. I think it was in shorthand. And then, it's just so many things. He was at 3 of my kids' weddings. He showed up for that. And when things were bad, he was always around. And he was like that with all people, he would always be there for you, the good times and the bad times, but he always supported you. And I used to take him home after the game, the whole situation. It was always like that. We were at IS-8, sitting in the bleachers. I said, the game's over. I said, Tom, I'll drop you off. Because he took the bus, the subway, the train. He used to go to Indiana, watch All-Star games and all that stuff. So I would take, the game was over. And of course, he would shake everybody's hand. I said, how long is this going to take? Like an hour and a half? I said, Tom, are we ready to go? So we would go. I take to Queens Boulevard and Yellowstone, and we would sit. He just was a caring person. He would say, okay, we're going to go to the bus stop. I said, why? He says, so I could get you home to Long Island. That's the Grand Central Parkway. So I said, okay, Tom. And we would just talk in general, and I'll tell you one thing. He never said a bad word about a coach or a player. Never. I never heard him say that. So it's just so many things. And we had an all-star game once, and I had to pick him up, and we had the players, and we were playing in Connecticut, and it was an all-star game, and I said, we're playing Garfinkel's team. I said, we're okay. I said, we're going to be okay. We have a good team. But Garfinkel did win. He said, golf is very serious. I said, oh, okay, all right. So we lost that game. So anyway, I had Sidney Green. That's right. I had Sidney Green, and Red Bruin was on the All-Star team. But then I would see him. Okay, the first really All-Star game was the wheelchair with Hank Carter, and we had it at Monte Cristi High School. We started it the first 3 or 4 years. We had Bernard King, Albert King. We had just so many great players. And the money, that was really the first All-Star game, but the money went to the paraplegics at Goldwater Hospital, which was a tremendous thing. And then after that, I worked 2 or 3 years at ABCD with Sonny Vaccaro, with all the great players there. Tom was there, used to help out, tell Sonny about the best players and all that stuff. And Sonny was a character, because I remember a good friend of mine that passed, Richie Cossack. Richie used to do the academics. We used to have like 3 or 4 hours of academics at ABCD. And then Sonny would say, Richie, you got to cut it out. Richie didn't want to. He had some, they did the SATs and they did all the stuff for the college, for the athletes that were there. And so Richie used to argue with Sonny, and Sonny kind of knocked it down. He says, people are here to see these kids play. So it was just so much. And I miss him an awful lot. I really do. He just hanging around, talking. And he did tell me a couple things, so I'll relate it to you. When the CHSAA and high school basketball was going down the drain, not going down the drain, but the people weren't attending the games, and he said to me, the reason why it came back is because of Kenny Anderson, and that's the truth. And he also told me that he didn't like the portal, which is what they do in college right now. He told me that. And yeah, so it was just a lot of things that we talked about. And like I said, he was like that with everyone. He had so many friends, all over the place. Wherever we would go, he said to this one. One day, he says to me, I'm gonna let you meet a couple of my friends. So I said, okay. I said, so we went to the diner. He always loved the diners, and he loved chicken soup, okay? And he used to tell me chicken soup is Jewish. Yeah, right. Penicillin, yeah. So that was good. Talk about some of your players. There's so many, I might be here for 2.5 hours, so I'm not.
Can they all stand
Right,
up?
I'm not going to be here 2.5 hours.
All those players stand up so we see them?
Yeah, please stand up. And also, I know, right? My family's here. Would you guys all stand up? And my wife, Barbara. Talk about Barbara. Oh boy. Well, at the end, we used to go to Tom Konchalski on Queens Boulevard, and every 2 weeks, she used to cook for Tom, making chicken parmesan, eggplant parmesan. Tom would come down from the apartment. We would sit and we'd just talk about basketball. And she did that for a long time. And we would do that, and, And Tom was so gracious. But at the very end, the last couple of weeks or something, he couldn't eat sweets because he couldn't digest it. But he appreciated that. And it's just so many great memories. So thank you so much.
I told you we get you out of here at the right time. If you know basketball at all within the city and outside the city, the name Bob Cimino is synonymous with excellence. There's no doubt about it. As the representative of the Catholic school to the Federation Championship, I handed this man more trophies than anybody in the history of basketball. Because it killed me when he beat our good men as people. And the way they affected their lives to this day is something that he's being nominated for today. So the Spirit of the Game Award goes to Coach Bob Cimino. Congratulations.
Thank you all, thank you. Indeed an honor to receive this award, to come in the class with Coach Gatto. We were talking before. Definitely one thing, being a little bit of a Mount Vernon historian, we always talk about the game at Iona College, Monte Cristi versus Mount Vernon, and it's just one of those stories where there are absolutely so many liars in Mount Vernon, because there's no way that all the people that say they were at that game could have. been there, but I was there, so shout out to Coach. That was a tremendous game. Indeed, I'm honored by this committee for this award. When Steve called, I jumped at the idea, jumped at the notion, such an honor. The only thing was, I was hopeful that I wouldn't be able to be here. But unfortunately, I am here because I was hopeful that we were still going to be playing. But we took an L, and this is a close second. So thank you for the award. The committee, the Slice Man, of course, an honor always to see Coach Barr, one of the best people I know in the business. I'd like to ask my power tables to please stand up back there. We've got a couple great folks back there. My longtime friend is Sue Tornabene. She runs stuff at Mount Vernon High. My secretary, LaShonda, Miss Daffodil, our great trainer, Sasha Gay Harris, and we got the principal of Mount Vernon High School here today. That's Dr. Pauline Pierce. My predecessor, who I learned so much from, the great coach Joe Galgano is in the back over there, Joey G, also coached at Iona College. Coaches Tone Pavlaka and Pat Theodule are here. Great friends of mine currently on staff. Mr. James Raitano is here. And I do have a player here, a former player, and he played for me in 1977. He's here with his sons, Mr. John Roque. Johnny Roque, where are you? Okay, he's over there in the corner. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the great organization. This is a tremendous organization. I'm backed by Destination College. It's Mrs. McKenna and her husband, Mr. Radani, was here. They do so much for Mount Vernon. And I apologize to whoever I left out. The piece of paper in my hand, besides having their names on it, Steve told me to talk about some Tom stories. And my goodness, I have a few of them. I'm just gonna go through. You know, Tom made everything official. If Tom was at a game, it didn't matter who you were playing. It was gonna be a better game. It was just more important because he was there. When you walked into IS-8, you could be playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. If you looked up in the stands and Tom was up there, you know, you were coach, you put your chest out a little more, you whispered to your new rookie players, who's up there? That's Tom Konchalski. They didn't know what that meant. But then you'd see, I'd be thrilled to see the older players schooling them. That man right there, that man can get you a scholarship without talking to a college coach, sight unseen. Tom had that much power in the game. A game that he loved, a game that he never abused. My earliest recollection of Tom, I was a JV coach at Mount Vernon High. I was down at the Gaucho Gym with Coach Galgano and also with Marshall Reef. And we were in between. Sometimes the Gauchos do run a little behind in their games. And we had some extra time, and Marshall said to Tom, let's get something to eat. So I didn't know that Tom was a big diner fan, but we walked up a few blocks, we went to the diner, and I sat there kind of in awe. I had heard about him, I just wanted to listen, watch, learn a little bit. And then I knew how prim and proper he really was. I never saw anybody before use a knife and fork on a Linzer tart. And it was just something I had to watch. It was pretty special to see. Tom would call me in October and November for a scrimmage schedule, and he would chastise me 1 week later if I hadn't sent that out to him in the mail yet. So I always made sure it was special if Tom came to one of your scrimmages. You knew that your kids were getting extra eyes on them, and probably the most important eyes on the East Coast was going to watch them. A thrill, an absolute thrill. I took such joy in when I had a pretty good young player, I would walk them over to Tom and I would do the introductions, and then I would just stand back and just look at my players' faces. You know, Mount Vernon kids are kind of cool. They're great kids, they're special kids, but here's this, I don't know, 6'4", 6'5" man who will not release their hand. And to watch their faces, that's a rite of passage that was really, really special to see. What a kick I got out of it. And as far as knowing people, Tom would, before he would finish saying hello or how's school going, how's the league going, he'd ask about Mr. and Mrs. Davis. I haven't seen Mrs. Davis around. Is she okay? Is everything good? He would ask about the families. He would ask about the former coaches. He just got into such detail. He did have that computer up there. Playground on 216th and Barnes, the UDC League was in full swing in a couple of the summers. And we'd put a team in, or I'd have a few players on different teams, and I'd introduce them to Tom whenever I could. I wanted Tom to know their names. And then he'd say, oh yes, I'm leaving here, and then I'm gonna take a walk through Central Park, and I'm gonna end up downtown, and the players are just looking, and I said, guys, he doesn't drive. He doesn't drive. So it was pretty special how he could get around to all corners of the earth to follow his passion. And then there was Five Star. Five Star. I see Coach Dwinell here. Five Star, what an education it was for me. And the Honesdale sessions of Five Star was the week that we Mount Vernonites would go up with probably 20, 25 players. And the players would have their bunk. And I was somewhat fortunate. I'd be able to bunk in the Manor House, which was where most of the varsity coaches stayed. And you learned a lot living among a group of coaches there, as the players learned a lot about themselves. The first night, regardless of the weather, was tryouts. Tryouts, you'd see shirts and skins in 50-degree weather, and then it would be 11-ish, and I thought, all right, good, it's time. Hit the bunk, get some rest, and then they told me we had the draft. And Tom would be at the draft. And if you needed a pick, you'd see everybody, all the coaches who wanted to really do well in front of Garf, they'd run up to Tom after the first 20 people were picked, and they'd get their selections. Tom would give them, I don't know, half a dozen choices. And he always just stayed there. He was amazing to watch at those drafts. The next day, it would probably go from 50 to maybe 80 degrees, and repeatedly Tom would say, now Bob, do you have your sunscreen? Do you have your sunscreen with you? And of course I didn't. And then later on in the day when I'm looking lobsterish, he would chastise me somewhat. You're supposed to have your sunscreen. You've got to be careful. Also, a couple great things at Five Star. On the weekends, Five Star would start on a weekend, and sure enough, there was a Sunday there. And Tom, being as devout a Catholic as he could possibly be, they would always arrange to have a mass, whether it be on a court or inside court 13, no matter what it was. And then afterwards, I didn't go. I slept in, but Tom would go, and afterwards he'd say, Bob, you missed. I said, really, Tom, what did I miss? We had the #1 rated priest in all of Honesdale there. So he even rated the priest. And then the All-Star game would come. And that was, after watching, I like to watch people, watch some interesting people, and there could be no more interesting people ever probably than Garf and Tom together when they were working hand in hand. And then the All-Star game on the Court of America. And I'm watching, being a rookie coach, checking things out, and I'm just watching, and Garf is on the microphone doing his thing, and Tom is in the background feeding him everything, giving him every insight about the game. And it was beautiful to watch, and it was really fun to see what was happening. The two of them just were very, very special people. Back to Mount Vernon now. If Tom wanted to call, of course, no cell phones, and of course, he would not leave a message. I had one of those old boxes, the phone machines, waiting for messages, but I also had the early caller IDs, and I could see sometimes he would call 7 to 10 to 12 times, not leaving a message until he got you. And then when he got you, He didn't seem like he was stressed out because of it. He had a message to give, and he wasn't leaving it on a machine. You got the message from him. He would come to our county center, Westchester County Center. We have a great site, and we were fortunate enough to win. You get a gold ball, and sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't. But when he wasn't there, it was guaranteed that he would be on the phone that evening or the next morning, and he would congratulate me, and he would say, "Bob, Mount Vernon has the gold ball. All is right in the universe." And that was about the best sentence I could ever hear. And he was right. He was right. All was right in the universe. Again, I think my biggest thrill, besides just knowing Tom as the person, was watching him interact with the younger players. That was such a very, very special thing. I miss him to this day. You know, it's a reflexive action. Walk into the IS8 gym, you immediately look up there. He's not there anymore. It's such a huge void that he left us. He left a void, but I think we're all a little better off, or a lot better off in some cases, because of Tom Konchalski. So thank you, committee, and thank you, Tom.